All right, so we're doing inverse functions and verifying them. You must build them using Gemma, and you must then create the inverse by going backwards in the Gemma table. No flipping the X's and Y's. We're just going to do a couple of examples to clean this up. I know my class was a bit of a mess. We were all over the place, which was mainly my fault. And I know Tillis's class, you guys did a little bit better than ours, but we still need some cleaning up to do, especially on the verification. So you should have that copied down by now. We're going to build this through Gemma. So I'm going to start with X, and it gets multiplied by 2, which gives me 2x. And we have to subtract 9, which gives me 2x minus 9. And we have to times that by 4, which gives me 4 times 2x minus 9. And finally, we need to subtract 3, which gives me 4 times 2x minus 9 minus 3. All right? So now we're going to build the inverse. So again, we start with x. And notice how these are going to line up, right? That says minus 3, so we go plus 3, which gives me x plus 3. Notice I'm still lined up. You see how all these are lined up? This says times 4, so I'm going to divide by 4, which is x plus 3 over 4. This says minus 9, so I'm going to say plus 9, which is x plus 3. Let me change that. Which is x plus 3 over 4, that whole thing, plus 9. And finally, this says times 2. So this says x plus 3 over 4 over 9. It's going to be divided by 2. So x plus 3 over 4 plus 9, that whole thing, divided by 2. Okay? So that's my inverse. F to the negative 1 of x is x plus 3 over 4 plus 9 over 2. Now, when I'm looking at these, it's super easy. Ooh, it's ugly. It's super easy to come up with any number works for here. There are only certain numbers that are going to work for the inverse. So I'm actually going to start with the inverse, and I'm going to be conscious of the type of number that I pick. Okay? Now this one happens to work out nice and pretty. If I put 1 with this, oh, this works out real pretty. If I use a 1, well, 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 can be divided by 4, which I want to make sure that works, which is 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. So this works out really nice. So I'm going to start with the inverse, and I'm just going to plug a 1 in because it's going to give me a nice, even answer. So I plug in 1. For x, I get 1 plus 3 over 4 plus 9, all that divided by 2. Which becomes 4 over 4 plus 9 divided by 2, which becomes 1 plus 9 divided by 2, which becomes 10 divided by 2, which becomes 5. So my output is 5. This is what I plug in to f of x now. I don't plug in that 1 that I put in f of negative 1, but I plug in the output of that. So I put in 5. So I'm now finding f of 5. And I surely hope that this works. 4 times 2 times 5 minus 9 minus 3. Let's see. This is 10 minus 9 minus 3, 4. This is 4 times 1 minus 3, which is 4 minus 3, which is 1, which is what I plugged in here, which means I got it right, y'all. Boom. I'm happy. I'm a little happier because this is actually the second time I've done this video. The first time I did it, I screwed up and it didn't work right. And then I had to record the whole video again. So yeah, there's that. All right. So that's how you build it. that's how you verify it. Let's do a super simple one next. Let's go, I'm going to clear this page out. Let's go real simple. Let's go f of x equals x plus 2 minus 8. Find me the inverse of that. I want you guys to do that on your own right now. Build it through Gemma and deconstruct it by going backwards to make the inverse. Do it before I do it. Cool. You've done that because you're practicing, and that's what you're supposed to do. So you started with x. You added 2, which gave you x plus 2. You subtracted 8, which gave you x plus 2 minus 8. Oh, this is super simple, right? So now we have x. I'm going to undo it. You're going to add 8, which is plus 8, which gives me x plus 8. And you're going to subtract 2, which is, we'll say, x plus 8, that whole thing, minus 2. Here's my inverse. F to the negative 1 of x equals x plus 8 minus 2. Now this is nice and simple. You should be able to plug pretty much any number into both the f of x and the inverse of f of x. No matter what you plug in, you should get an even number answer. So I'm just going to pick a simple number like, let's say 1. So I'm going to find f of 1. Okay? So I end up with 1 plus 2 minus 8, which gives me 3 minus 8, which gives me negative 5. I'm going to take this negative 5 and plug it into the inverse. So I'm going to find the inverse of negative 5, which is negative 5 plus 8 minus 2, which is, what is this? 3 minus 2, which is 1. And look at that. 1 is the number I plugged in, so I verified that my inverse is correct. Boom. Hopefully you were able to do the same thing. A key on this is that I really need you to do this by building Gemma. Okay? We're going to do, let me clear this page. We are going to do one more. A little more complex. F of x equals, let's go 2 times x plus 5 squared. Let's just go with that. 2 times x plus 5 squared. Should I put another? Let's go. Nah, let's just leave it right here. 2 times x plus 5 squared. You build it. Find me the inverse. Hopefully you've done that. So you said, okay, I start with x. I go plus 5. Which gives me x plus 5. I go times, no, I go squared, which gives me x plus 5 squared. And now I go times 2, which gives me 2 times x plus 5 squared. All right? And then you're inversing it. You are going to divide by 2, which is x divided by 2. I'm going to take this square root. Here's the key now. This whole x divided by 2 needs to be square rooted. So it's x over 2 square root over all of that. And again, it's actually the plus or minus square root. That's something that you need to remember, even though you can still go ahead and check it with the plus. And then minus 5, which is square root of x over 2, basically, minus 5. So my inverse function is square root of x over 2 minus 5. I really hope I didn't mess up because I'm not trying to do this video again. So if you guys are looking at it like, yo, Bash, you messed up, you're just laughing at me and I don't even know it yet. But I think I'm good. Okay. Now, notice in this one, I could put any number into f of x and it's going to work just fine. But as soon as I see stuff with square roots and dividing, I might want to think about my values and choose a value for the inverse first. So I need something that I can easily take a square root of. And now the number I'm thinking about is 1. So 1 is an easy square root. I can get a square root of 1. So I need something divided by 2 that's going to be 1. So the input that I'm going to use for x is going to be what to check this? You should be thinking, yo, you should use 2 for an input. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start by actually putting 2 into the inverse. So I'm going to go f of negative, or f, the inverse of f of x, and I'm going to use 2 for my input. So I end up with 2 over 2 minus 5, which gives me the square root of 1 minus 5, which gives me, the square root of 1 is 1, which gives me 1 minus 5, which equals negative 4. Negative 4 is what I'm going to put into f of x. So I get f of 4. Excuse me, f of negative 4. Please work, please work, please work. 2 negative 4 plus 5 squared. Okay, let's see. 2 times negative 4 plus 5 is 1 squared. Okay. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Yes. Yes. And 2 is the number that I put in, which means my verification is right. Yeah, I shouldn't be this excited about getting it right, but when you did the whole video and then you realized you missed a negative at the end and had to do the whole video over again, you would be excited too. There it is, y'all. Boom. That is how we build them, break them down, verify them. The only other thing, I mean, there is some other stuff you're going to need to think about, but we really need to get this down. So make sure you have that strategy going. Sorry for getting this posted late. It's going up on Sunday morning. All right, thanks.